We are locked and loaded for tonight's call. Welcome to the Tuesday night principled Chiro broadcast from DE and Band of Brothers. I'm Dr. Brian Moriarty, your esteemed host, MC, for tonight's exciting Tuesday night call. We're with Dr. Ellen Kessel Nichols. And guys, DE is upon us here, guys. We're about a month out now from DE, maybe less than a month out. What is it, July the 13th, and it starts on April 11th. So, yeah, 30 days out from DE and Atlanta, and the rooms are going fast. I was just talking with Kat off screen, and she said the time is now to get your room reservation over to her. She's happy to book for you or get it booked on your own or whatever, but they're running out of the room block. The rooms are going real fast, so you want to get on that and book today and get that booked. Kat, can we get those dates for the upcoming DEs coming up there? Let's get that overlay on there. There we go. That's August 11th through the 14th in Atlanta. Hot Atlanta. It's going to be a hot one there, guys, at the Great Marietta there. Then October 13th through the 16th, right back in Atlanta. And January 12th to the 15th. We've got Clearwater, Florida, down by me, and then we're back in Sarasota, April 13th through the 16th. You've also got in there, not mentioned, in September. So you got August D in Atlanta. September, you got the Chiro Cup, the GCC, Georgia Council of Chiropractic, puts on their Chiro Cup every year. I've attended every year they've had it. I think that's like 4 or 5 years in a row. Me and Eddie Martinez and Judson, we always come up. So if you guys want to be a part of a fun day, go to that Chiro Cup. That's in mid-September, so you want to get that on your calendar as well. I think that's September 13th. Kat will check me on that one. But Chiro Cups for a great cause, a lot of fun. Play some golf with Brian Lieberman, Dan Tu, Drew Henderson, all the guys from the GCC. So definitely support them in that event. But we hope to see you at DE next month. That schedule is getting finalized as we speak. I do have a few confirmed names. We have Chiro Cup September 15th. Thanks, Kat. Couple of confirmed names for DE. Dr. Steve Judson has been confirmed. Dr. Brian Lieberman has been confirmed. You will see both Steve Judson and Brian Lieberman at your Atlanta DE. A little bit of breaking news. Those guys are in. More names to follow. So get your flights, get your hotels, get registered. It's going to be an epic one, guys. You don't want to miss it. I'm here in my new house, by the way. Finally getting settled in. As you can tell, there's a giant gaping hole right here in this room here. That's where the BJ Palmer piano is going to go once it's being refurbished. So we're working on some stuff, little teasers there, but the BJ Palmer piano is being refurbished. It's going to go right there once we get it in working order. So more to come on that. So always like to drop little teasers here and there. Anyway, guys, tonight we've got somebody making their debut on the Tuesday night call. Her first time ever doing this. So, of course, she's going to be nervous. We're going to have to will her through this one, but I think she's going to rock it. Dr. Ellen is a 1997 graduate of NYCC, and she came to her first DE, I think it was about 5 years ago, and she went home and just totally changed her life. I'm sure she'll talk about that a little bit. But she took some massive action after going to DE, and that's what we love at DE, is not to just sit there and clap and go home and do the same old thing, but make big steps. And she's working for another awesome guy, Bill Tackett, up there in Queensbury, New York, and they got an awesome practice up there. So I'm excited to hear her message. I haven't heard her talk, and I think it's just going to be awesome, pure, raw. And I hope she kills it tonight. Rooting for you, Ellen. So from Queensbury, New York, give it up for Dr. Ellen Kessel Nichols. Take it away, Ellen. Thanks for doing this. Love you.
Am I on? Yep, there I go. I'm on now, right? Thank you, Brian. Love you too. Yep, my first one. I'm definitely nervous. So let's see. I'll start with my introduction to chiropractic when I was 15 years old. I was in high school, obviously. It was my sophomore year. I was very blessed to, in my freshman year. Oh, wait, let me back up. I grew up in Queens, New York, right near LaGuardia Airport, Shea Stadium, that area. But I went to high school in Manhattan. So I used to ride the subway every day for an hour each way to school. And the school I went to had this awesome program where I got to go to Europe the summer after my freshman year. I saw 7 different countries in 8 weeks. It was a phenomenal time. 40 students, 2 chaperones. Just great life experience. My parents were very nice to pay for the whole thing for my trip that first time. But when I came back and I loved it so much, I wanted to go again. They said, okay, time to get a job. So I'd never heard of a chiropractor before. I looked around at what jobs, my school had posted, and luckily there was one for a chiropractor. It was filing, doing laundry because he had people wear gowns, things like that. I got the job. I started working there. Um, you know, I, I was amazed by the things I saw him do. I mean, he wasn't a principled chiropractor. He was a NYCC graduate himself. Dealt with a lot of pain, used a lot of electric stim, things like that. But I saw him help so many people, and that was like the main thing. I saw a lot of people walk in unhappy and walk out happy, and I got to pretty quickly start running the front desk, and I just love the whole atmosphere of a chiropractic office, and very early on I knew that was what I wanted to do. Um, he was a great mentor, even though he wasn't principal. I mean, I wish he was principled. My life would have changed a lot sooner. But it was a great experience. He was like a chiropractor to the stars. He still is. He's over by Lincoln Center in Manhattan. His practice is mostly Broadway show dancers and actors. We used to see Kevin Kline, Carol Burnett, Stephen Walken, Regis Philbin, Gelman, most of the Rockettes, so it was just a great experience. Got me very excited about chiropractic. Like I said, I didn't really know the principle, though. I had a knowing that chiropractic was good, not just for people in pain, because, he checked us, everybody that worked in the office. We got checked once a week, no matter what was happening. I never had any issues, but I always got checked once a week, adjusted as needed. So I had this knowing of chiropractic being more than just pain, but that was about it. And I went to NYCC. I graduated. Coming out of school, it was funny. Chiropractic school and undergrad were both upstate New York for me, and I hated them at first. I felt like I was in the middle of nowhere, but because I had loved the city growing up, and just all that exposure to all the Broadway people and things like that. But over time, I started to love rural, and when I was graduating, I knew I wanted to work for someone at first. His particular office wasn't big enough for an associate. So I just started looking. I started looking mostly in the city because the salaries were better, and I could live at home and save money. And as I was interviewing, it was crazy. Like, not a single person I interviewed with was really like happy or fired up for chiropractic. There was one person in Staten Island that was a bit, and I accepted a job with him. I didn't take one closer just because, like I said, the other people weren't happy. Not where I wanted to be. I had also interviewed with a doctor up in Saratoga Springs, we're close to where I am now, just for the heck of it, really. A college roommate of mine lived up here, and I mentioned to her that, this person was looking for someone, and she said, well, just interview. Even if you're not going to do it, it's a good excuse to visit me. So I did it, and thank God I did. This guy was my first job, second job after I left the Staten Island guy after a week. Keith Caballero, he's a life graduate. He never taught DE. He never really told me about anything like that, but he loved what he did. He was very charismatic, very just happy, and just the way he was talking, even though he wasn't explaining it as the principal, he was just all for helping the patient, and just fired up about what he did. And I wanted to get out of the city, so I took the job up here. I worked with him for a few years. It's a funny story about him, actually. Even though he never told me about DE, when I first came to DE, and I saw Dee Umber speaking, and I was thinking about the time frame, and I knew that he must have known him. I texted him, and he said, Dee Umber, he gave my daughter her second adjustment ever. He was living in New York, but his daughter Sage was born with strawberry hemangioma, and even though he's such a confident adjuster, he gave her her first adjustment. He just felt like he had to get back to Georgia and have somebody else evaluate her, just because he wasn't positive. He wanted to be as sure as he could be about the palpation, the stuff that was going on with her. It was hard for him to palpate her atlas. And he said that he got on a plane and he flew out to Georgia, and he had Dee Dee check her. And from then on, he took care of her moving forward after Dee Dee helped him out and just gave him that confidence. But anyway, let's get to my first DE. Fast forward, I'm working at Bill Tackett's office. One of the other docs here, Jeff Sawyer, he was good friends with Ed Gigliotti. Ed was actually putting together a lyceum. I want to say it was maybe 2016. And just having a lot of principal doctors from DE come and speak right near NYCC. So it was a good excuse. I'd been out of school almost 20 years and had never been back to visit. And that's really the whole reason I went to the Lyceum, just to go visit and just kind of hear some speakers. And, I don't remember all the speakers, but I know Judson was there. I know Peter Amlinger was there, Eddie Martinez, I think John Balsamo. I mean, I just heard some phenomenal speakers. And Steve told his story about Ronnie, and it was the first time I heard anything like that. My dad suffered with mental health issues, all through growing up. And, I always had this knowing from both doctors that, chiropractic was more than pain, but just never got down to the principle part of it. So that was fascinating. And, Peter, I think, was talking about innate, which I'd never really heard of, and just his experience when he was first called to be a chiropractor, I think when he was in high school. And just, a lot of good speakers. It made me interested enough that Judson then was doing a intensive in Connecticut. So again, not too far. Atlanta seemed like crazy for me to go hear some speakers, I never really heard of before, but Connecticut didn't seem bad. So we went there, and I heard a lot of great speakers, all the, common DE speakers, and just more information. The one thing I remember from that was Marilyn telling a story about she was adjusting somebody that I think had been to another chiropractor, so they did a lot of stim and things like that, and she just adjusted them, and they said, that's it, and she said, no, that's it. And like that just stuck in my head, because just really starting to wrap my head around the fact that, the power of the adjustment, and maybe not needing the stim, which, 20 years at that point, I'd been, almost every patient got stim. So anyway, decided to go to my first DE, just from the stuff I'd heard at those other two places. And it was January of 2017, like Brian said, 5 years ago. And I was just, I was blown away. I was riveted. I didn't want to leave my seat. I didn't get up to pee until the lunch break, and, not again until the dinner break. I felt like I didn't want to miss a single word. Love the energy of the room and things like that. Just felt right to be there. And I don't remember if it was the first day or the second day, but Brian Moriarty was actually the one that, a lot of the other DE speakers, came from going to life and never using stim, and just kind of being successful at that right out of the gate. And Brian, from what I remember, was a mixer at first, and was telling a story about how he got rid of that stuff and how successful he was and how it wasn't hard. And I just said, you know what, I gotta do it. If I just like, I sat there and I wanted to do it, and I knew I wanted to do it, but I knew if I didn't put it out there, to be held accountable, that I would probably never do it. And I'd say, like, the next DE, I'll do it, So I told Brian, I told a few other people coworkers of mine, and just any, whoever I happened to meet that I was chatting with in the hallways, I said, you know what, Monday I'm going to go back and I'm going to get rid of the stim. And once I put it out there, scary, but I felt like I had no choice, because after listening, to all the speakers that weekend, and just, you see these successful people, not just in practice, but in life, and, you want to emulate these people. And they're there just to help you be a better version of yourself and to serve more people. And, it's just hearing the message big time, like, why wouldn't I want to do that? So the other thing I had already committed to in my mind was, I'm going to come back, every DE this year, at the very least the next 4, and go from there, no matter what, not miss 4, 8, whatever it was people were saying. I said, I'm going to do it. And as far as the STEM thing goes, if I didn't put it out there, though, it would have been the next DE, and I would have been saying, like, oh, I got to do it, So I put it out there. I was held accountable. I got back to the office on Monday. The very first person that day had an Atlas Fusion, and she wasn't even doing toggle, just activator and a lot of modalities. So, it took a little bit of explaining to her. Like, I thought I had to give her this big long explanation of, why I changed my mind and why I wasn't using STEM, even though it made it so important before. And, it made me really explain the principle to her. And it was funny at the end of me explaining it to her, she said, "Oh, so it's like you're the vessel." And it was so funny to me that, like, she got it all in, like, that little explanation I gave her, and it took me 20 years to get that. But the rest of the day went on, and I just gave me the opportunity to explain the principle to people, so that they would understand why the STEM was pointless, and they all got it. And that day, that week, that month, it really was easy, like Brian had said. Everybody got it. Everybody thought it made sense. Everybody was happy to get in and out in 5 minutes instead of 20 minutes, and things were good. Practice grew. When I first started DE, I was seeing maybe somewhere around 75 people a week. And I kept setting goals. I kept, getting mentors and talking to people. I would message with Judson a lot about different goals I was trying to set. And, my first goal, obviously was breaking 100, and then, 150. And, as I was going through 2017, 2018, I didn't miss a DE. But not just that, like, these Tuesday calls, I filled myself up with all the recordings of all the Tuesday night calls from, years past, and, reading Lasting Purpose, just going to the Ds, listening to the advice of the speakers, and then just taking those action steps, whatever they were saying. My second DE, the Sarasota one in 2017, the message I got out of that one was that I had to start doing an orientation. And, public speaking is not my favorite thing in the world. It's my least favorite thing in the world. So that was a tough action step as well. And I just, again, just leaning on my DE brothers and sisters, I found an orientation online that Brian Lieberman had done. It sounded awesome to me. I wrote it all down. I practiced it a lot, and, I put out a date that I was going to start doing it. And again, just the accountability of it, just started doing it. And, it wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be to speak in front of people. And then you just do it every week, and it gets easier. So it was a lot of that. My first 2 years at DE, I had a lot of growth. I kept, after hitting 150, and then I wanted to hit 200, then I wanted to hit 250. And the whole time, just, besides coming to the Ds and doing the calls, just trying to, just resonating with different speakers. O'Halloran's one of my favorites. It was so simple. Like, it sounded so simple. Like, you don't have to go out and do, screenings. You don't have to do all this work. Just, sit there, take some quiet time, and manifest it, give it to God, and believe it's going to happen. And it's going to happen. And, how simple is that? It seemed simple at the time, getting up at 4:30 every morning and doing all that, taking the time to meditate and pray and visualize and breathe and all that. And it was at first, I did it. I was fired up about it. I did it a lot. Practice grew. It was awesome. But yeah, after a while, it gets hard to do that every day. And I've had my ups and downs. And then I think my numbers show when I have my ups and downs, when I'm not doing exactly what I did that, brought me all that success those first couple of years. But yeah, just, I feel like, throughout DE, they always say you hear what you need to hear type thing, or you get out of it. Like, you can listen to the same talk once, and then another time 6 months later, and get something totally different out of it. And I find that a lot. Right before I hit my 300 goal, and after 2 years of DE, I had read Steve's Atlas Adjusted, and there was something in one of the chapters that said about practicing innately, and it just clicked with me. And even though I guess heard it like all those couple of years, just something about reading it that day, and it clicked, and not just finally broke that goal that I was looking for, but just made practice that much better. Like just so much more enjoyable. It was already more enjoyable just from DE, starting DE, but just I don't know, practicing just a little different mindset, little whatever I read in that, and it really helped me quite a bit. So you know. I kept having these other goals. I wanted to hit 350, which I hit right before Sarasota. So then I wanted to hit 400. And, so now summer of 2019 is when DE affected not just my practice life so much and my personal life, but really my personal life. A lot of you guys know uh, in 2019, my husband underwent like this health issue that landed him in the ICU at first, and then ultimately in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and then ultimately in a rehab facility for a couple of weeks. But that day, the first day in the ICU, when the doctors didn't really know what was wrong with him, obviously I was freaking out. But I just had this different outlook on life and God, and positive manifestation and visualization and all that stuff. I mean, I actually grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic elementary school, so it was a lot of church and things that, like, as soon as I got out of that, I never really went back. But I was praying, I was believing God. But my prayer was always like protective, almost like I was always asking for protection, and I don't know. It was not the right kind of praying. It's funny, like I wouldn't expect it, like going to a chiropractic seminar, that I would learn how to like have a better relationship with God and how to pray better. But I did. So that was one of the biggest changes for me as well. Just more of the starting with an attitude of gratitude in everything, but with God, starting off my prayer that way and just being so thankful and focusing on all my blessings that, and it just kind of leads into the manifestation, visualization, and knowing that all that stuff I was doing all along was, to serve God more, by serving more people, not just to say like, oh, these are my numbers, but then when push came to shove and in the ICU that day, I just, even though we were going through all this stuff that, why are we going through this? But I didn't think about that. I just kind of thought about getting through this and, getting to the other side of it, and it all being okay. And, I know, like he was out of the ICU and he was doing a little better. And I just remember Judson messaging me and asking how he was doing, and I said, he's doing better, and thank God for DE, because if I didn't have DE, it would have been like such a much harder experience for me, because I just kind of knew, that let go, let God, just know that it's going to be okay. And every time the like what ifs would creep in, because like especially in that ICU time frame when they didn't really know what was wrong with him, they're talking about, oh, he's probably gonna have to go on a ventilator, it's probably going to affect his lung muscles, not just his limb muscles, and things like that. There's a lot of what ifs that start to creep in. But just to big thing I learned at D is just to turn that around, like the what ifs and the you know worry about something bad happening, or wallowing in your sorrow, whatever it is you're going through, personally or professionally, or just anything, like that's never going to end up positive for you. It's only going to bring you down more. So it just makes sense to focus on the positive, and expect abundance, expect things to improve, expect things to go your way, and then just again have that feeling, and let it go and give it to God, and go from there. So that was a big way that Dee helped me out, just going through that hard time. And throughout it, my numbers didn't really drop. I served my way through it. We're blessed to have family, a lot of family to help. Like when I'd be at my office, they'd be at the hospital and things like that. Most of my patients didn't even know that was happening for that month and a half. So I just focused on them, and helping them, and again serving my way through it. And I felt like numbers dropped a little and practice dropped a little because my focus wasn't 100% there. But just, every time, like anytime you drop off, like you just get back on and just, start getting up at 4:30 again, start taking the time to do the work that, listen to the calls, read the positive stuff, always go to DE. I was, still always going to DE. And that's why, like, the pandemic stuff, obviously that sucked. Our numbers might have dropped for a couple of weeks and then they really went back to normal. And again, getting through that was principles from DE. Like, I don't think if I had been like the chiropractor I was, before DE and just practicing that way, I'm sure we wouldn't have been as successful throughout that whole thing. It was funny. I missed it even in August and October because I'm in New York and I just couldn't deal with the I didn't want to lie to my patients and not tell them and I went and then you were supposed to quarantine and it was like all that crazy stuff. And I remember in January, a few of you guys know, there was that weird rule where you could, like, if you weren't out of the state for 24 hours, then you didn't have to quarantine. So I found a flight. I left really early in the morning. I got to see a handful of speakers, but the main thing was I got to see everybody, give them a hug, just chat for a little bit and just get connected again. And I got back to New York in less than 24 hours and I didn't feel guilty. I didn't have to tell anybody because I was following that recommendation or whatever silliness. But anyway, what else did I want to talk about? So fast forward, recovering from like that kind of thing with the pandemic stuff, like just, I stopped giving my orientation. I think it was more of an excuse than anything. And then eventually I said, this is ridiculous. I got to get back to all my normal things. And just started doing that. And again, my numbers stayed in the mid 200s, almost 300, just kind of fluctuating there, but not growing, not getting to that next step. And, I had experienced so much growth that I was like wanting to get back to that and start moving forward again and not just being like complacent with where I am. I know a lot of speakers always say, comfort sucks. And I'd gotten to a point where, during the pandemic, we got this new office manager and she was really focusing on the finances that I had never focused on. I was like just trying to tell people to come in, bring your kids in, bring your spouse in, and they couldn't afford it that much. I was just, giving this deal and that deal and just like really trying to get the numbers because I know the reason for the numbers is because I'm serving more people in my community and I felt that way and I wanted that and I believed it. But at the same time, I just liked seeing the numbers too. And I was just like really focused on that for a while. And she kind of tweaked things, she started taking care of all the finances and I got to say within a short number of months, like just kind of letting her handle that and me getting disinvolved with that, the average amount I was bringing in per patient like went up quite a bit. And again, that's not my goal. Never is, but like, who doesn't like a little bit more? I mean, I'm still, all those years that I wasted, so to speak. And I know it's my walk and I did it just as my timing was supposed to be. But, all those years where I wasn't focused on the principle and not seeing a lot of people and focusing on abundance and things like that. I'm 20 years in practice at that point when I started DE and I still have like barely touched my student loan. So like, there's so many things that I still have to change. And that's part of why I'm going to still keep coming to DE because I have other goals now that I want to attain. And I have the basic tools from DE to attain those goals. I just got to, anytime I'm not, hitting the goals that I want to hit, I know it's because I'm not doing the work I'm supposed to do. I'm not, immersing myself in books and I'm not taking enough time to breathe and visualize and things like that. I'm not getting up as early as I should. I'm hitting snooze a couple times, whatever it is. Like, I just feel like when I'm really doing what I'm supposed to do, God is blessing me that much more. And it's like part of why I'm going to just always stick with DE because I just always want to stay in that mindset and always move forward. And it was funny with this manager, the thing that hit me, she said, like, aren't you happy? Like you're working less, you're seeing less people and you're making more money. And I was like, no, not at all. I'm not happy with that at all. That's terrible. That's not what I want. Yeah, I want to make more money, but I want to see more people. Like, I got to like refocus and just, get back to the basic principles. And that's what I'm going to do. I mean, kind of set my mind to that and just doing this talk, like when it was coming up, it was firing me up that much more. So I kind of got that in my mind. After I get through this talk, I'm just going to start skyrocketing again. So let's hope for that. I decided, Jed, since I was talking about a yellow legal pad, and I've been writing all my stuff down on a piece of paper. So I went out and I got a yellow legal pad today. We're going to see how that works out. And things like that. One of the funny things I wanted to say also was about, hearing things when you need to hear it. I'm not sure if there's an algorithm Spotify uses or Wake Up Humans uses, but it's so funny. I click on it and, I've listened to most of them and I click on sort, oldest to newest and unplayed. And normally it goes through only the unplayed ones, but every now and then, and it happened just the other day, it bounces me back to one I heard, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, whatever it is. And the other day it bounced me back to a talk with Mandy Gigliotti. And it was an awesome talk. And it was something I think I did need to hear right then. And she was talking about goals, and she was talking about, not to focus so much or not the importance of like necessarily reaching that goal, but the journey to reaching that goal, to be the type of person who can reach that goal. And it was just, I don't know, it hit me just right then that, it was just what I needed to hear to refocus myself. Because again, like, recovering from pandemic stuff and just getting my numbers back and, the tail end of last summer, all the way in through February, I went through a rough spot with my mom. She was, simple, she wasn't in the best of health, again, if principled chiropractic had gotten to her sooner than 2017, maybe she would have been better off. Those 20 years I was practicing, not exactly principled, but she had some health issues, and they kind of came to a head at the tail end of last summer. And she had this surgery that ended her up in the hospital. It was supposed to be like this minor day surgery. She ended up in the hospital. And that led to the rehab facility, which, she's going to be there 2 weeks. And, I'm going down, I'm adjusting her once a week. She's in New York City at this point. And I go down on my day off, spend the day, come back, doing that for many weeks because these weeks turned into months, turned into like 6 months, and, again, it was a tough time that I was going through personally. And my husband actually was starting to show some other signs of like just this other health issues that had started back with his first thing. And they're just kind of showing themselves more and just doing some more diagnostics and stuff. And just a rough 6 months. But, without the principles I learned at DE, I wouldn't have been able to get through that time frame. My mom passed in February, and part of you wants to say like, well, what the heck? I've been visualizing her well and adjusting her, and and my husband's going through this stuff, and again, I just got to go back to the DE principles of, you got to let go and let God, and I move the bone and God does the healing, and it's not on my time frame, and I'm not God. I can't control these things, and I just got to take no credit, take no blame type thing. And just like, what good is it going to do me to wallow in this negativity that, how come going down once a week and adjusting my mom didn't get her better and get her out of there, things like that. They're just nothing positive. You're not going to get anything positive out of that. What I got to think, I focus on the miracles that happen in my office every day, because I got to keep my headspace good for, continuing to work on my people, and people do get better every day from all kinds of crazy things. It wasn't God's plan for my mom to get better from what she was going through, but, again, that's not on me. But it's just something that I gotta focus on and turn it for the positive. So like my turn on that is, again, if Brian Lieberman says it a lot, like, he doesn't necessarily have all these problem people come in and have these miracles. He tries to see young kids and just raise, healthy kids instead of like fixing broken adults or something like that. Maybe if that doctor I worked for back when I was 15, if he was a principal doctor and like I had understood things better and I had just practiced differently and things were different, then, maybe her outcome would have been different, things like that. I like to focus on that and using that to fire me up, to be better and to get the word out there to more people. So, people just understand the principle and, the younger people are that can, when they experience principal chiropractic, just, I know they're going to be better, whatever happens, I know they're better. And I like using that a lot too. Something from Dean Sotilli, the promise versus the potential. You always have the potential to heal from whatever you're fighting. When the power that made the body heals the body, you got to release that through a chiropractic adjustment. That's the potential, but the promise is that no matter what, you're better with less nervous system interference and more, and just all these different things I've learned over these last 5 years, just like have really impacted my life on a personal level and on a professional level in the office. And I can't say enough about DE. I would never stop going to DE. I just gotta get better in my own daily living of just practicing the principles and doing the work, because I've seen the proof that doing the work definitely turns out good. So I just got to stay on it and keep turning the crank, as others have said. And I'm winding down. I think I'm done. Thank you.
Ellen, great job. For someone who, you said one of your least favorite things is public speaking, I heard you drop in the middle there. You could have fooled me.
I couldn't see anybody. That helped. I felt like I was just talking in the middle.
Well, you can probably see all those great comments coming across the bottom. And everyone loved that talk. I love that talk. I got a lot out of that talk. So if that's one of your least favorite things, I think you should definitely do that more often, because, girl, you rocked it tonight. Thank you so much for that amazing message.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Of course. We would love to have you back anytime. You really, really crushed it. Congratulations on all your success. And really a great talk. I'm blown away tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that'll wrap it up for this week. We'll see you next Tuesday on the DE Band of Brothers Principled Chiro broadcast. Take care, guys.